Hey guys, today I want to share with you 4 of my favourite fantasy book... Oh my god, sorry, my dog just sneezed. Today I want to share with you 4 of... Oh my... You, bless you, buddy. You having sneezes. You done? Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to tell you about 4 of my favourite fantasy book series. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm not including stuff that I do love that's already a famous movie or TV show or whatever. So Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings won't be mentioned in this, so don't worry, you're not wasting your time, because I know that most people already know about that. There's no point in me mentioning them. I'm going to mention ones that maybe you haven't heard about, or maybe you've heard about but haven't read, and hopefully I can persuade you to read them. On to the first series. The first series I want to tell you about is the Demon Cycle series by Peter V. Brett. This is a 5-book long series. It's in this world where demons have basically taken over. At night they rise up. There's different kind of demons species, if you like, that rise up, and they have decimated the human population. The few remaining percentage of the human population is behind these wards that protect buildings and protect them, and it's just the story of that world. I won't go into any more detail because I don't want to give away the plot line. The storytelling is really good. The character building and the arcs of the characters across the 5 books is really good. There's also 5 novellas that go with the series. They're all also really good as well, but you don't have to read any of them to kind of understand the series. It's not like you have to read all the novellas as well. The only one that maybe is the most tightly woven into the series is Brian's Gold, or Brian's Gold, I think it might be. That one has like a slight mention within the actual series, but it's nothing that you like are required to do. Really good 5-book series, like I said, starting with The Painted Man, The Desert Spear, The Daylight War, The Skull Throne, and then The Core. And then I will also put the novella pictures underneath me here on screen. So editor me, put that in, please. Brilliant series. And if you love it as much as I do, then you'll be glad to hear that Peter V. Brett has actually released a new book recently, set about 15 to 20 years in the future from the finish of the last book. So 15 years in the future from the end of The Core, with new characters. Well, not entirely new characters. There's some of the old characters are still there, but there's plenty of new characters as well. Next series I'd like to talk about is the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks, and this is possibly my favorite fantasy book series of all time. It's set in this really cool concept fantasy world where there are a select percentage or select few people born with the ability to do what's called drafting, which means they can take one of the visible color spectrum and turn it into a material called luxin, which becomes each color has its own sort of unique features of what it can be used for. Almost political world that they've created. There's this very clear kind of good versus evil concept within it, but it kind of shows how life isn't good versus evil. It has this like gray area, and it's just really well written. It kind of makes you, it's clear which characters you kind of want to root for, but then it's also clear that your characters aren't perfect. They have issues. There's things that they have to overcome. They're not just like the perfect hero. There's sort of an anti-hero aspect to some parts of it, as well as the bad guys, as it were. Aren't pure evil. They have some goodness in them. So by that, it kind of creates this brilliant grey area of good versus evil while still keeping a really awesome story to it. I won't go into much more detail because I obviously don't want to give away any of the actual storyline. I highly recommend it as a book series. There are 5 of them in the book series, starting with the Black Prism, then the Blinding Knife, then the Broken Eye, the Blood Mirror, and then the Burning White. I hope that Brent Weeks goes back and visits this universe. I believe his plan is to actually go back to his previous universe for his first series that he ever wrote and do some more books in that universe, like that fantasy world first. But I'm hoping in the future we come back or we get some additional bits and pieces, because there is such a rich lore that gets kind of shared throughout the books that I definitely believe there is more to it. There's probably tons of notes that he's made while writing this, and I just would love to see more and more of it. So yeah, really awesome. Definitely recommend reading it. In fact, that's in my opinion the one you should definitely take away from this video is that series. Series 3 is by Patrick Rothfuss, The King Killer Chronicle. This is actually a trilogy, but so far only 2 books are out. It's been a while since the second one was released. We've been waiting a while for the third one. I know that Patrick Rothfuss is definitely getting annoyed with the amount of questions over when the next one is released. We have been told the title of it now. So there's progress. There's not currently a date set for its release, but I can only hope that it's, maybe 2-3 years away. But the first 2 are so good that Yes, it will be great to have that third and final, like, almost finished to the story, as it were. The first two are just so amazing. It's definitely worth reading. He also wrote a novella as well. Again, nothing to do with... It's within the same world, but you don't need to read it to understand the two books that are currently out. And names of the books are The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man Fears. And the third one, which isn't out yet, is The Doors of Stone, I believe. And then the novella is called The Slow Regard of Silent Things. And it's done in a very different style of writing to his other two books in the series. It just shows how good of a writer he is. So I do highly recommend giving that a one to read as well. It's not hugely long or anything like that. It's just done in a very interesting style. It's basically the life story of a man called Quoth. I don't actually know how it's pronounced because I've only read it on a page. So such an epic tale. I literally couldn't tell you like specific things because so much happens and there's so many twists and turns and cool in-depth details that, yeah, you just have to read it. It's brilliant. They're not massively long books or anything like that. They're pretty decent sizes, and you'll get to the end of the second one, you'll be like, I cannot wait for the third, The Doors of Stone, and I cannot wait for the third. And the fourth and final series that I want to introduce to you guys is another one by Brent Weeks. Now I know I had another one just previously by Brent Weeks, my more preferred one in my opinion, but this other series is, and this other fantasy world that he created is amazing. Again, the storytelling is brilliant. There's this, he writes his characters in such a way where you can't help but really love and like them, but also can recognize their flaws and see that they're not perfect. I think he does a really good job of that without, he writes in a very grey area. He doesn't write just a black and white character. Now there are obviously plenty of writers that are good at doing that. I just think Brent Weeks does it in such a way that I find that I connect with his characters on an even deeper level than I do with other characters. It's a 3-book series with one prequel as well. The prequel is fantastic as well. I'm definitely going to mention it, but you don't have to, again, read the prequel because he wrote it after the series. You can read the prequel after you finish the series. Definitely read the series first and then the prequel, because I believe there are some level of spoilers in the prequel and some stuff in the prequel that you probably wouldn't understand unless you'd read the books. It starts with The Way of the Shadows, then Shadow's Edge, and then Beyond the Shadows, and then the Perfect Shadow is the prequel. The main trilogy follows, for the most part. There are other characters, but for the most part the sort of main character is Azoth, a guild rat on his journey to become a wet boy, an assassin. And I won't say any more than that. That is what you'd see on a blurb or see when you look up that thing, so it isn't a spoiler. It's got some brilliant twists and turns. It's some fantastic writing, and I'm so glad to hear that he's going back to that world. I did also hear that he sold the movie rights to these 3 films. However, I believe that the people who bought the movie rights took too long to make them into a movie or TV show or whatever, and so he now has the movie rights again. So I don't know if someone else is going to purchase them. I think it would make a really good TV show if done well. I also, actually, to be honest, I think all 4 of these series could be made into absolutely brilliant TV shows, but it would have to be on like a Game of Thrones level of production value to make them good. I think they're not ones that you could easily do on a cheap budget, just purely based on how the worlds are built and yeah. But anyway, that is my 4 favorite fantasy series. Super recommend reading any of them. If you're not much of a reader, go on Audible. They've all got Audible books, including for a lot of the novellas, and the prequel for the Night Angels trilogy has they all have audiobooks on there. Let me know of any other fantasy series. I am always looking for good fantasy book series, so please tell me in the comments ones that either are similar or different. I have read quite a lot of books. These aren't the only 4 series that I have read. I have read others, but I'm always on the lookout for more new ones and other suggestions. So yeah, please let me know below. Let me know if you've read any of them below and enjoyed them as much as I did. And yeah, have a great one. Bye.